This is CBC Here and Now.
It was unfortunate. I should have been more gracious.
For the first time in 6 days, Crosby speaks.
In a room full of his new caucus members, the Tory leader explains his election night speech that left many people shaking their heads.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Debbie Cooper.
And I'm Anthony Germain. Almost a week after the election, PC leader Crosby is breaking his silence. This after a passionate speech that was widely criticized as inappropriately angry.
Crosby spoke late this afternoon at the Conservative caucus room at the Confederation Building. Here Now's Mark Quinn was there. Mark, what did Crosby have to say?
Well, Debbie, the PC leader was clearly contrite. He apologized for his behavior on election night. He says he was angry with the Liberal campaign that he says played on fears about electricity rates and also fears about healthcare spending. But this today, when he spoke at the caucus room, he clearly said he now wants to help the Liberals create good government for the people of this province.
I issued a statement correcting my omissions and called Premier Ball Saturday with my congratulations and my offer of cooperation. We are all only human, and I intend to revert to my normal statesmanlike composure.
Now, Crosby also changed his position on the future of the Liberal government. You may recall on election night, he vowed to take down the Liberal government within a year, but today he's saying something very different. He's more conciliatory.
The people of the province are not interested in an election anytime soon. We know, however, that minority governments tend to be unstable. I think the average lifespan may be 20 months. It is not our intention to bring down the government. Rather, it is our intention to ensure that the Liberal government, assuming they remain the government, will gain the confidence of the House on those matters which are in the interest of the public and that the business of the province is carried on.
So what's next? Crosby says he hasn't had time to hammer out working arrangements with other MHAs, with the NDP or with the Independents, but he says he is committed to rebuilding the Progressive Conservative Party in this province. Live at the Confederation Building, I'm Mark Quinn for Here and Now.
Well, to the NDP now, which Mark just mentioned, where a caucus of three is in the unfamiliar position of wielding a lot of power in a minority government. Leader Alison Coffin, Jim Dinn, and Jordan Brown all won seats on election night, and all are going to be brand new MHAs in a House of Assembly that has 20 members on the government side and 20 members in total in opposition. The New Democratic Party will have a much larger voice in the legislature than it's used to, and Coffin says possibly holding that balance of power means they have to stay true to the party's values.
Well, it's going to take a little bit of work, of course, but there are a number of things that are well ensconced in our principles and our policies that can be addressed very easily in terms of small legislative changes. So I think those things are not big ticket items that we are going to go in asking for, just items that are going to mean a change to the people of the province, to their pocketbooks, to their affordability, just to the way they live and work.
So as you can see, all three members of the NDP caucus sat down in our studio. So can New Democrats compromise? And how do you balance the advantage of fresh faces with the disadvantage of little low experience? You can catch the full interview in 25 minutes.
These icebergs aren't just great for looking at, they're also great for the economy here in Bonavista. I'm Peter Cowan. I'll tell you why, coming up on Here and Now.
Well, I certainly wasn't the most popular person in the newsroom today as far as the Avalon weather goes. We saw that snow this morning, those temperatures quite cool as well. 2 degrees is what we topped out in St. John's, and similar temperatures as you head towards central, west and south coast. Quite nice, actually. Saw some sunshine this afternoon. Those winds quite strong as well, which certainly didn't help with that snow. 65 to 80 kilometer per hour per gust, especially along the northeast coast. Now we're starting to see that heaviest precipitation move offshore now, but now we get into that onshore flow, and with that and cooler temperatures, that special weather statement is still very much in effect along the northeast coast. The Avalon's now out of it, but we are still looking at that potential for some wet flurries as we head through the overnight tonight. There is an end in sight towards the weekend, but I'll have all those details coming up. Deb?
Thanks, Ashley. A man convicted of killing his 5-year-old daughter is appealing the decision. Trent Butt was found guilty of first-degree murder in March and sentenced to 25 years in prison. His daughter, Quinn Butt, was found dead in Butt's burned-out Carbonear home in 2016. In a handwritten letter to the Court of Appeal, Butt says his conviction is unreasonable because of errors in the jury selection process and in the judge's instructions to the jury. Butt calls his own defense counsel incompetent and his conviction a miscarriage of justice. The court has yet to rule on whether to grant an appeal.
An ex-RCMP officer who was convicted of using a computer to lure 2 underage girls will be spending at least 1 year in jail. Ian Callback showed up to court in Happy Valley Goose Bay today with a backpack, expecting to be taken into police custody. Testimony from the girls, as well as forensic evidence gathered from Callback's computers, proved the case against him. In one instance, Callback asked one of the girls to remove her top, and in another, he offered to send a picture of his genitals. Callback took the stand today and maintained his innocence. He denies sending any messages. Crown Attorney Trina Sims is asking for 18 to 24 months for one count of luring and 18 months for the other count. His defense lawyer argued if it weren't for Callback's position as a police officer, he'd be pushing for the minimum sentence of 1 year. Instead, he's asking for 12 to 16 months per count of luring. A judge will have the final say next Monday.
Starting tomorrow, a portion of highway near Bay Roberts will be closed for construction. Until further notice, Veterans Memorial Highway will be closed to traffic between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. According to the town of Bay Roberts, northbound and westbound traffic will have to detour between Roach's Line and Mackinson's. No word on how long construction is expected to last.
Now, as we reported yesterday, heavy aircraft are being told not to land on the runways at the Goose Bay Airport. Parts of the runway are cracking off and the sealant is crumbling, and that's making the surface unsafe. Here now's Jacob Barker has more.
Well, people with regular flights in and out of Happy Valley Goose Bay don't have to worry. Those services rely on smaller planes like Beechcraft, Twin Otters, or Dash 8s to get around. What will be affected by this, though, are the large jumbo jets like 747s that make planned stops here on their ways to and from the other side of the Atlantic.
We've imposed some restrictions to ensure that aircraft that could cause some damage to the runway don't land.
Any plane experiencing an emergency could still use the runway, and a Norwegian jetliner which has been stuck in Goose Bay waiting for a new engine to come will be able to get out. The concern here is with the surface of the airfield and the underlying concrete. The decay the military base which operates the airfield says is happening quicker than they expected.
The deterioration of the asphalt, it does cause some cracking, and by doing so as well allows some of that sealant to come loose. So therefore we must be very vigilant and we ensure that we look at the condition of the airfield on a regular basis multiple times a day to ensure that we catch any loose debris which could cause problems.
In 2017, the airport was shut down because of issues with the sealant peeling up from the runway, but the Air Force says that has nothing to do with this.
Different issue. The issue that happened about 1.5 years ago was particularly due to a batch of sealant that was a bad batch of sealant. All that sealant has been completely removed, so that is not an issue right now.
That year, there was also $12 million dedicated to fixing ramps vital for NORAD operations on the base. The base commander says a plan is being hatched within the Department of National Defense to make the runway safe again for larger planes.
That's going to come in the future, but it's, again, looking at the viability of ensuring that we can safely operate out of Goose Bay.
And for it to be able to continue to be a place where flights like this can divert to?
Yes.
What we didn't hear from the military is how they would go about fixing the runway and how much that might cost. Those restrictions are in place until mid-August, and whether or not it will be solved before then, the base commander says, is hard to say. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
People who support the seal industry were celebrating in St. John's today. They marked National Seal Products Day, which is held annually on May the 20th, but this year that fell on a holiday. The marketing event highlights what the fishery means for Indigenous people and those who live in coastal communities. Lieutenant Governor Judy Foote told a story about an incident in Ottawa from her time as an MP there when she approached some seal hunt protesters to talk about the industry.
I had no idea that the jacket I was wearing was made of sealskin, had no idea that my boots were of sealskin, and no idea that the mittens I was wearing was sealskin. These were young people who had been hired to do a job. So I thought it was really sad. But after telling them about my jacket and about my boots, and as I walked away, I was a little nervous that they would probably throw something at the jacket and try to destroy it. But so this is what we deal with, I think, as Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. We have to stand up, we have to be proud, and we have to recognize that in prosecuting the sealing industry, we're doing it for all the right reasons.
Well, he made it. A man from this province attempting to climb Mount Everest has reached the summit. 31-year-old Mark Ballard sent his father a text from the top of the mountain. That's 8,850 meters, or just over 29,000 feet. It's a tough climb. Severe winter conditions can hinder the trek for the most experienced climbers. Many have died trying. Ballard currently lives in Norway, where he works with the oil company Equinor. He's been training for months for this journey. It was inspired by the small steps his father took after losing a leg. The next step is the trek coming down. That can also be quite dangerous. This morning, his father spoke to CBC Radio St. John's Morning Show.
As soon as I sat down, the text came in, so it was almost like, it's almost like we're thinking about each other at the same time. It's first time ever a Newfoundland flag's been planted on the top of Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. They say it's more dangerous coming down. Now, his last satellite track, he was heading to Camp 2, which is about 2 camps down from the summit. So he's getting pretty close now to base camp, and once he reaches that area, he's safe,
What an accomplishment. What a thrill for his dad to get a message from him. The top of the world.
Yep, now coming down, so keep our eyes on that. It's beautiful up there. Now, we showed you some pictures yesterday of the icebergs off Bonavista, and this is shaping up to be an absolutely fantastic year for people who enjoy hunting those bergs.
Seems there's twice as many as usual for this time of the year, and that is good news for the local economy. Here now's Peter Cowan has this look from Bonavista.
These icebergs here in Bonavista have been putting on a show. In fact, just a couple of minutes ago, one of them actually cracked apart. Part of it broke off, which had everyone grabbing their cameras to check it out and watch all the ice drift apart. But as impressive as these are on land, they're even better up close from the water.
Often in pictures you don't really get that same sense of just how awe-inspiring and big they are.
Grace Kapistanik and her family traveled all the way from Vancouver. They're out in a Zodiac bobbing just off Bonavista. Bob Curry is the captain. He used to fly out to Alberta for work, but 3 years ago he started his own tour company at home.
Icebergs are very important here now, especially this time of year. Before the whales and stuff get here, right, you get a few icebergs, and well, people come from all over the world looking for them, and they keep you going till the whales get here.
The bevy of bergs means Curry started his trips a month early this year. Curry isn't the only entrepreneur in town who relies on icebergs. Roger Dooling is mixing up a fresh batch of shampoo at his shop on Main Street. East Coast Glow uses iceberg water in 80% of its products. He insists iceberg water makes better soap and gets people in the shop.
They look at the icebergs, they come to our store, and then they're like, wow, maybe they didn't know that it was made with iceberg water. But now, when they're in the store, we talk and we tell our story.
Lots of people have been wondering what's caused this wonderful year for icebergs. Is it climate change? Well, actually, it's more about the winds. These northerly winds have been bringing bad weather, but they've pushed these icebergs on shore. You can also thank a year with lots of sea ice. It protects those icebergs so they don't melt and break apart on their long journey down from Greenland. Peter Cowan, CBC News, Bonavista.
They are spectacular, right?
Really?
And they were early this year, too.
Very early. They're dotted all along, up Bonavista and all the way down. It's really something.
And thanks to you for sending us so many pictures. We love them.
Absolutely love them. You've been sending via email, Facebook, and Twitter. Keep them coming.
Yep, please do.
Honk for spring snow.
Hey, there's Ashley out there, and
We made her do that.
That's true. Do
for
anything,
giving us the snow.
Anything for ratings. Ashley's back inside with your weather forecast. Barp.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Order your tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
I actually put my car brush away prematurely, as it turns out. What a morning.
Absolutely.
What a thing to wake up to.
Premature, but I mean...
Thank you, Ashley.
Probably.
It is May.
It is May. And you know what? We always keep talking about how much snow there is, or the potential for snow in May, so...
Here it is.
Here it is.
Yeah.
But it certainly did feel like someone shook the snow globe this morning. Big, fluffy flakes as I was leaving the house. And I decided it was time to conduct an experiment using a precise scientific method. Take a look. It's cold.
I really do not love it.
Do it, just hold
couple of them.
I did.
You didn't cut out the rude gestures, did you?
Yeah.
No.
People were they played along.
They certainly everybody needs it. Yeah. Like I said, not everybody needs it.
What can you do?
That's a bit of fun, and that music was almost Christmas-like.
So is it true
Was
that
Christmas-like.
May precipitation is supposed to be good for your eyes, right?
Right. Apparently it's the first snowfall, but whatever.
Oh.
We'll pretend like that was the
Okay,
first
so
snowfall.
I won't be getting rid of these anytime
No,
soon.
not anytime
Okay.
soon, no.
It's too bad. Stand out there.
So are we going to have more of the same, or are we getting over it soon?
Yeah, a couple more days, or at least 1.5 more days, it looks like, that we're going to be stuck in this northerly flow. But temperatures today were quite chilly.
Way down.
Yeah, so only reached a high near 2 degrees here in St. John's. And when you factor in that wind, take a look at what the current wind chill is. -4 is what it feels like right now. -6 in Gander. Not exactly what we want to be seeing for, or at least feeling, for May 22nd, that's for sure. But as we head through the next 24 to 36 hours, we are stuck in this northerly flow. So we can see that low spinning off the coast, and that's the prime reason why we see the rain, drizzle, and fog. And then these cooler temperatures is why we're seeing that snow. So we've seen most of the heaviest precipitation move off already, but we do still have a special weather statement in effect for the northern peninsula and along the northeast coast. The Avalon now is no longer in it, but we could see and likely will see some accumulating snow, very similar to what we saw for the Avalon overnight tonight as those temperatures dip in higher elevations and towards inland, because somewhere between a trace to 5 centimeters. So essentially the same forecast. And we're looking at that again along the north, or at least the southeast portion of Labrador. Now, towards the morning hours, those temperatures are going to bump back up, so that will change over to drizzle. So here's a look at the forecast for tonight. Those temperatures between 2 and 3 degrees, so not moving much from what we saw yesterday. Some northwesterly winds, quite strong at times, somewhere between 40 and 60 kilometers per hour. So we're not going to see some relief in that way, at least for the overnight tonight. Again, with that potential for some wet snow accumulations towards the higher elevations. Lab City hovering around 0 degrees tonight. Light winds, and then there's that northerly flow or northwesterly flow for Labrador, or at least coastal Labrador. So somewhere between 2, maybe 3 degrees at the most, with that messy weather, wintry weather as we head through the night tonight. So looking into tomorrow afternoon, we can see again, we're going to see mainly socked into some of that cloud cover and then that drizzle and rain tomorrow afternoon along the coast. Best chance of seeing that sunshine will be for the southern half of the island again tomorrow. Those temperatures not going to be too bad either. Ridge of high pressure dominating, so western portions of Labrador will see those clear skies again tomorrow. And with that, some warmer temperatures. So here's a look at the numbers. 5 degrees for St. John's, 4 for Bonavista, again with that northwesterly flow with gusty winds. Marystown should clear out and reach a high near 13 degrees tomorrow, and then warmer for the southern half of the Avalon as well. But with that, we're going to see that potential for some showers. Heading towards Grand Falls, Windsor, we're looking at 7, Harbor Breton, again anywhere along the south coast, looking at those double-digit temperatures with that sunshine tomorrow. And then as we head a little bit further north, we're looking at 3 to 6 degrees and that messy onshore weather. Same for southeastern portions of Labrador. And then 10 degrees for Happy Valley Goose Bay tomorrow, with that potential for some showers as we head a little bit further west, especially towards Lab City. 13, 14 degrees with a few cloudy periods through the day, and then up through Nain, 8 degrees and plenty of sunshine. So that's a look at your forecast. Looking ahead, I do have double digits in there. I'll give you all the details when I come back.
Okay, double digits. Thank you, Ashley.
Welcome news.
Yeah. Now, the sloppy snow, well, that may have been falling in St. John's this morning heavily, but that wintry weather didn't discourage some visitors who decided to go and check out Signal Hill.
No, not at all. CBC's Fred Hutton swung by the scenic tourist spot and met these very optimistic travelers.
What time do we start this morning?
Oh, about 9 o'clock from downtown. Thought we'd come for a little walk.
Yeah, we came for the view.
What have you seen so far?
Well, actually, if you look over on the far side there is a little iceberg down in the water. And we've seen a lot of fog, beautiful fog. The best fog we've seen in Canada, I think. We arrived on Monday, and we're leaving tomorrow. We just came for her birthday.
Your birthday?
Happy birthday to me.
All right, so the weather conditions, you guys can survive them, but my camera won't. We've moved inside in our vehicle now. Tell me a little bit more about what brought you to Newfoundland this time around.
Well, you know, what better way to spend your birthday? Doing something different. We were out on O'Brien's tours yesterday and saw some icebergs, ate some frozen ice. That was great. 10,000-year-old ice.
Cool.
Iceberg ice?
Yeah, it was cool.
Have you seen an iceberg before?
No, never. No,
Until
never.
yesterday.
Until yesterday.
It was amazing.
It's beautiful, beautiful pictures, beautiful puffins, all kinds of gulls. Yeah, it's my birthday. So happy birthday to me.
This is a great way to spend it, walking in the pouring rain and snow and sleet up on Signal Hill.
Yeah, sure, why not? Life's too short, to be miserable, so just get out and enjoy it and be happy.
Yeah, every day is a good day. As long as you wake up in the morning, it's a great day. You can't go wrong from that point on. And everything in life is all between your ears, right? It's all what you make of it yourself. And we just love it. We just love this philosophy of having a good time every single day.
I've been here before. I mean, it's a pretty spectacular sight, even in this weather.
What brought you to Newfoundland?
Well, I'd never been here, and I take the weather over the crowds, and so this was our schedule, and it's fine. We can see, that's my first iceberg down there.
Did you warn her about the weather? You've been here before, right?
Oh yeah, but it wasn't like this then. But we were warned. We looked at the weather. We knew it was going to be kind of indifferent, to say the least, but hey, it is what it is.
We're skiers. This is okay. We've skied in weather worse than this.
All right, well, do be careful. And look, there's your first iceberg over there.
Yeah.
Oh wait, the fog is lifting quickly, look.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is.
Some great comments there and some wise words as well. Now to this story. The 100th anniversary of the world's first transatlantic flight is being celebrated this summer. It is a story we've been following on Here and Now, but we're not the only ones planning a party. In the tiny town of Clifton, Ireland, a major Alcock and Brown festival is in the works. It will spotlight some key connections between Clifton and Newfoundland. Here and Now, Zach Gowdy has more.
There are two sides to every story. For Irish filmmaker Kevin Glynn, the story of Alcock and Brown belongs to his corner of the world as much as it does to ours.
Realistically, there are only two places where that story can be owned by the people. Here in St. John's, where the preparation for the flight was made and they took off over the ocean, and in Clifton, where the aircraft landed.
Alcock and Brown took off uphill.
Glynn was in town to gather material for a documentary on Alcock and Brown, interviews with local aviation buffs, and shots of key locations, such as the site where their famous plane took off. But the film will premiere closer to where the plane landed, in the town of Clifton, Ireland, at the Alcock and Brown Centenary Festival.
In Clifton, it would be fair to say that they've literally lost their mind. Every single person in the town is involved in the celebration.
There are fewer than 2,000 people in Clifton, but the town is big on Alcock and Brown. A week-long festival is happening in June, including reenactments, conferences, and the premiere of Glynn's documentary. And while many people in Newfoundland and Labrador will learn about Alcock and Brown for the first time this summer, in tiny Clifton, the town's connection to a piece of world history has a central place in local culture.
For us, I suppose, Alcock and Brown, it's an ongoing event. It has been an ongoing event. We've had the 50th, the 75th, the 90th, and now the 100th anniversary. And the purpose of this festival is really that we want to have elements in there that would live past the 15th of June. So we would have something for economic and community value going forward.
The tiny town managed to raise 100,000 euros, topped up to $1 million by the Irish federal government, for the creation of a walking trail and monument at the landing site in the middle of a nearby peat bog. During the festival, Ireland's Connemara National Park will be ceremonially twinned with this province's Terra Nova National Park. Glynn hopes those transatlantic connections keep growing as more people here discover the story that put Clifton on the map.
There's a surprising amount of material here, but more importantly than that, there's a surprising number of people here who are enthusiastic about the story, as enthusiastic as I am myself.
Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
The NDP is going to have a lot of clout in the next session of the House of Assembly. How are they going to use their power in the balance of power? That's coming up. Welcome back to Here and Now. When the House of Assembly reconvenes, we are all going to see history, an evenly balanced political teeter-totter. 20 MHAs on one side of the House and 20 on the other. And you see those 3 orange dots there? Well, I'm joined now by all of them, the entire NDP caucus, Leader Alison Coffin, and soon-to-be MHA's Jim Dinn. They join me here in the studio. And we've got Jordan Brown joining us from his vehicle in Labrador West. Thank you for all making yourselves available. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right, Alison Coffin, I'll start with you. We're heading into uncharted waters. Have you struck a deal with Dwight Ball to prop up his government?
Oh no, we're far too early in the process right now. We have had some preliminary conversations internally and an introduction of we recognize the possibilities, but no deals at this point, no.
Okay, so obviously we're in an interesting world right now where the NDP, 3 of you could conceivably hold the balance of power as we move into the next session. How do you use this unique position to make this work, Jim?
Well, Alison has said it before about stability and collaboration, and at this point in time, it's about looking at what our priorities are as well. Each of us has seen issues as we've gone door to door on the campaign trail. So right now, it's about having that talk within the caucus and bringing those issues to. When we do talk to the Liberals themselves.
Well, Jordan Brown, you're the youngest and a newcomer to all this. Having the ability to bring down a government, it's a serious responsibility. How do you demonstrate that kind of responsibility as you argue for what you believe in?
It's a lot of responsibility, absolutely. And I feel that, like, I know I'm younger. I come from like a background with no political background, really. I tried to run for council once. That didn't really work out. But I feel that I got a different voice for the different population of the province, the younger families, the younger generation that are coming behind me. I think that they wanted someone in that will start to change things to the way the vision that they have. The younger generation has a vision for this province.
I guess picking up on Jordan's point, the good news, I suppose, even if people don't support the NDP, we've got some new faces.
Mm-hmm.
The good news is all 3 of you are new, and the bad news is all 3 of you are new. How do you overcome your lack of political experience?
We have very good mentors, and we also have a great range of experience before we even got into politics, for sure. Certainly my experience has been 25 years as an economist, but I've also done public policy development. I've worked on boards and agencies. I've recently done a round of collective bargaining. Jim himself also has quite a great depth of experience as well. Certainly as a teacher, he brings that type of experience with him, but as the past president of the Newfoundland and Labrador Teachers Association, he has a lot of responsibility and a lot of experience in that respect.
On that point, are you going to be the education critic? Is that your role?
That still has to be worked out, but I can tell you that will be one of the issues that I'll be interested in dealing with.
Right. I mean, you certainly locked horns with Dale Kirby, I remember.
Well, it comes down to about making sure the education system is funded and resourced in a way that benefits the students of the province and gives the teachers the resources they need to do their work. So that's one of the issues that I'd be looking at. I'm also involved with the organizations that deal with poverty and homelessness, and with my work on the St. Monand Association, conservation, environmental issues. But to Jordan's point, a lot of the issues that face younger people have to do with their ability to work and stay in this province, and a lot of concern about the environment, about the future of this province.
Well, all these things, social justice, education you mentioned, I guess a fair working wage, these are all major issues for New Democrats. But what about being able to compromise? I think everybody sort of sees the Tories and the Liberals as pragmatists. From my experience, when New Democrats start talking about compromise, they feel that they're moving away from principle. How are you going to balance that?
Well, it's going to take a little bit of work, of course, but there are a number of things that are well ensconced in our principles and our policies that can be addressed very easily in terms of small legislative changes. So I think those things are not big ticket items that we are going to go in asking for, just items that are going to mean a change to the people of the province, to their pocketbooks, to their affordability, just to the way they live and work.
Right, but if you're not happy with education funding, for instance, you can say, hey, Dwight, more for schools or we pull the plug.
But Anthony, to that point, there are a number of things that that can be done now with regards to education that will not cost government anything, but will make the working lives of teachers better and free up time so that they can deal with their students. I've had those conversations with the NLTA, and so there are a number of non-monetary issues which will go far to making the system better.
We'll look forward to seeing those. So Jordan, I don't want to exclude you. You've been waiting patiently up there in your vehicle. You're getting on a plane Monday, is that right?
Absolutely. I'm going to fly into St. John's on Monday and start, like I said, I get to meet with Allison and Jim now. We can have some face-to-face discussions without a phone between us, and we can have a chat and especially bring my perspective of the North and Labrador into the fold of the NDP caucus.
Because, you know, I've got two towny MHAs sitting here with me. Your life, you've got two young kids, right? You're going to be moving back and forth. That's a hard life. Are you ready for this?
Oh, absolutely. I feel that it's time that, you know, especially I bring a voice from Labrador down into the house, but a voice of a youth too, right? That we need to, like young families like myself and all my friends and people like that really do sometimes feel left out when government makes decisions. And I think that we need to really look at, you know, childcare, living wage. These are really important things to youth now, especially with the with higher taxes and that too, right? So people are feeling the burden, and the people that feel the burden are people who are trying to start their lives and their families.
All right. Well, listen, I don't think I've ever interviewed an entire caucus simultaneously before, so I want to thank all of you, and certainly as we move ahead with the balance of power issues and who the speaker's going to be, we have a very interesting session ahead, and I'll see you in the House of Assembly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
6 days after the election and an eyebrow-raising speech, PC leader Ches Crosby invited reporters inside Tory offices late today. Up next, hear what he had to say.
Let's get back to our top story now. Ches Crosby speaking to reporters after 6 days of silence following his controversial remarks on election night. Here's some of Mr. Crosby's scrum with reporters about 2 hours ago. Why have you been hiding for 6 days?
That's your language, Anthony. What I've been doing is I've been contacting candidates, those who were successful, those who were not successful, other people in the party, and I've been scheduling this meeting of the group. I wanted to have a caucus meeting and make sure we were all on the same page and had a consensus about the issues going forward. And after that being achieved, I'm quite happy to speak to the press.
But when you reflected on forgive me for my bluntness, your rudeness on election night. You're almost sooky and a sore leader. Why did it take so long? I mean, you know how it all looked. I mean, if you reflected upon this, why wouldn't you do this on Monday so we can actually start talking about your new team instead about your behavior?
Well, Anthony, I issued a statement the following day. I also communicated with Mr. Ball. I spoke with Alison Coffin, the leader of the NDP party. There are, you know, almost 40 candidates to talk to by telephone. There were logistics involved in getting the caucus together today. So all that took that kind of time.
Well, to this story now, a senior member of the Muskrat Falls leadership team admitted today at the inquiry into the project that the cost estimates were too aggressive. And Ron Power, the project's deputy director, says those estimates are one reason the project went over budget. But he still puts much of the blame on the main contractor, Astaldi, for the skyrocketing costs.
There's increases on the transmission line side that Jason Keane described up here. There's increases on the owner's team because the project has gone over schedule. But the Astaldi situation is a significant part of that cost increase. But yes, there are a lot of other factors that are contributing to the cost of the project that we see today.
What sort of factors do you see from your perch as a project manager?
Well, I think the estimates were too aggressive, very aggressive, for one. Contractor performance.
Power also suggested today that the inquiry itself will contribute to the cost increases for the project. He says the information revealed opens up Nalcor and the project to claims that could cost the province hundreds of millions of dollars. Now that led to this exchange between Power and the commissioner.
So it's a poker game and our hand is on the table for everyone to see. That's what this inquiry is doing.
So Mr. Power, let me just point something out to you. I really don't care what you feel about the inquiry or whatever, because it really doesn't matter to me because I didn't call it.
No, I understand.
It's actually the government who represents the public who are paying for this project that called this inquiry. So I can understand your feelings. I can assure you what I've tried to do from day one is to, and I would defy basically Nalcor Energy or anybody to suggest otherwise, is that I have been very careful in advising Commission Council that the object here is not to cost the public more, but actually to cost it less. So that may be your view. I don't even think that, to be quite frank, that this inquiry is going to cost Nalcor Energy $135 million. It may cost it that if there's been spending beyond, or if there's a reason why money is being spent to somehow influence the inquiry or to do some other thing or whatever. But all that really needs to have happened here is I get close cooperation. And to be quite frank, Mr. Simmons from Nalcor Energy has been very helpful to this commission. And in the circumstances, I think we have worked in a very cooperative way to minimize the risk of claims succeeding here. So while you have that view, let me assure you, my view is entirely different. So we will agree to disagree on that. All right?
In national news now, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a plan to renew the entire Canadian Coast Guard fleet.
Be a tremendous amount of work in the coming years for workers in our shipbuilding industry right across the country from coast to coast to coast.
Up to 16 of the new ships are being built at the Seaspan yard in Vancouver, and 2 others are being ordered from Irving Shipbuilding in Halifax, and there will also be a competition for a 3rd shipyard. More than 1/3 of the Coast Guard's 26 large vessels are now past their operating date. Their lifespans are just about done. The project's Coast Guard estimate is estimated at $15.7 billion.
And welcome back once again. Before we get to your weather, Ashley, it was not a great day for adventuring outside.
No.
Certainly not here on the Avalon.
Yeah, especially here. But as you saw earlier in the show, it really is all a question of attitude. And so CBC's Sarah Smelly with our online team, she decided to head out to make the most of today's sloppy spring snowfall. Check this out. Getting ready for those?
You mean in the day or in the season?
Both.
Oh my.
Enjoying a little spring beverage. Ah, yes.
She's got the spirit.
So great.
Embrace it. Embrace it, Sarah.
It's amazing to see how many flowers are actually out.
They're the hardy ones.
Yeah, oh, obviously, yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, well, people still getting their exercise.
That's right. Still walking right through that snow.
That's right. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Unlike you with the scraper, I didn't put away my winter clothes
No,
yet.
you were smart. Experience.
Yeah, experience.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so we're gonna see these, essentially this forecast continue again tomorrow, but a couple of degrees warmer. So we'll take a look at that forecast just in case you missed it a little bit earlier. Again, that northwesterly flow somewhere between 3 to 5 degrees, it looks like along the coast. And then that best chance of seeing that sunshine, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, will be for the south coast. So 10 degrees in Port aux Basques, 13 in Marystown, and then up through Labrador, 14 degrees for Lab City tomorrow. So beautiful afternoon expected. Now, as we look into Friday, that low still spinning offshore, but it's pulling away. So with that, it's going to pull the rain, drizzle, and fog and potential for snow along with it, especially towards the evening and overnight hours as we get into a ridge of high pressure. So those temperatures should bump up a little bit on Friday, again with that risk of showers in the morning along the northeast, but otherwise temperatures starting to recover. So 7 to 9 degrees it looks like from St. John's towards Gander. Otherwise, we're looking at those double-digit highs again through the afternoon. Slight chance of a few showers for Corner Brook, but otherwise 12 degrees. And then Labrador, the western portion anyway, 14 degrees it looks like with plenty of sunshine, and then that potential for some showers just thanks to that low pressure system. Again in the morning towards the early afternoon for Cartwright, and 7 degrees. Now here's that low. It's going to stay there, but it looks like Saturday afternoon should clear out. We'll see a few cloudy periods into the afternoon, but same thing up through Labrador. But that's generally the story as we head through the day on Sunday as well, except the next system does move in, which is going to bring some showers in for western portions of Labrador. Otherwise, a few more cloudy periods expected across the island. But with that, we're going to see temperatures bump up. So as we head towards Monday, though, that next system will roll in, but because of those temperatures being so warm, it looks like it will just be a rain event. So here's a look at the forecast over the next 5 days. Those showers tomorrow, cool at 5 degrees, 7 on Friday, again morning, and then it'll clear out nicely. Well, at least it should clear out nicely. Saturday and Sunday still looking beautiful. Now keep in mind these temperatures are going to rise and or fall over the next couple of days as we get a better handle on what those temperatures are going to be like. But Monday, looks like we should see fair skies for the first half of the day, and then that shower activity will move on towards the afternoon or evening hours rather, and hovering around 8 degrees. Now for central Newfoundland, still have temperatures in the high teens for the weekend. That's still looking very likely with overnight lows between 2 and 6 degrees for the weekend, and then Monday still holding on to those warm temperatures because that low is coming in from the east. Still looking at 17 degrees and plenty of sunshine. Now for western Newfoundland tomorrow, gray skies essentially from north of Stephenville, and then south of that should see sunshine. For Friday, some showers to start, 12 degrees, and then we warm up nicely towards the weekend, and Monday still looking at those double-digit highs. For eastern Labrador, 14 degrees on Friday, and then it's going to stay generally gray through the rest of the weekend, and then same thing for western Labrador. It'll be Sunday before you start to see those showers, but overall, not a bad forecast. So that's a look at that. I'll have your weather photo coming up. Or I'll have your weather photo right now. Here's a look at that. Another beautiful shot there. This one was taken on the Avalon again, but I'll tell you where that was taken when we come back.
Topsail Way?
I finally know one.
Yeah, you know where this is.
Trail Association was born 25 years ago. It was 1994, and this was the start. I probably shouldn't have worn this on the hike today, but at the big Trailraiser hike on Saturday, June 8th, you can do the East Coast Trail your way.
Join CBC NL at the annual Trailraiser hike in support of the East Coast Trail Association. The fun starts in Bay Bulls with 5 hikes to choose from.
It's skipping.
Register online at eastcoasttrail.com.
Skipping. There's some people younger than Zach now who wouldn't know what he meant by skipping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have to smile every time I see that promo.
A bit of fun, a bit of fun. All right, different day today. We're talking about the snow here. Not quite the same way in the nation's capital.
You're longing for those good old days,
Nice flowers.
I'm sure, because thousands of visitors set attendance records at Ottawa's annual Tulip Festival, despite the cool weather.
Really impressed because we had such cold weather. I was wondering if we would have much going on, and then it's almost better than other years.
Visitors say the blooms were spectacular this year. 700,000 people showed up to admire them, making attendance the best it's been in a decade.
Yeah, it looks really cool there. An added bonus, because of the late start, the tulips are going to last several more weeks than usual. So if you're in Ottawa, check it out. They are gorgeous. If you've never caught that, it's a beautiful time to be in Ottawa.
One of my favorite flowers.
The
Can't
tulip?
cut those though, can you? Bring them home?
No, they don't. They frown on that.
Yeah.
Gorgeous pictures.
I got to see those last year. So.
Nice, huh?
Loved it.
Okay, we have a special picture to get back to. Hey?
It's our tulips of sort, I guess. Lots of them to see, and
They
we're getting
spring up every spring.
They certainly do. Yeah. Here's our wonderful weather photo of the day today. It was actually
Torbay.
You are correct.
Yep.
It was taken in Torbay. So I just thought that one was a good. They're all beautiful. I can't choose. I just love them all.
Every one of them different.
They are. Yeah. So Ian Winter captured this beautiful shot. Thank you so much for sending
That's
that
a perfect name for a guy who shoots icebergs.
It's true.
Thank you, Mr. Winter. Appreciate that.
And if you have any that you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Yeah. Great stuff.
It is great. Can't wait to see more of those pictures. It
Wednesday already.
appears we're going to get more.
Yeah, lots. Good season.
Yeah, Wednesday already. Short week.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow.
After last week's long week. See you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.